Imagine a storm in 1492 that swallows 3 tiny Spanish ships whole, preventing Christopher Columbus from ever reaching the Americas. With Europe cut off, the peoples already here are left to forge their own history without interruption. For writers of alternate history, this premise feels like a perfect blank slate. It offers a chance to wipe away centuries of colonialism and build a new vision of human progress from the ground up. But when you look at the novels that attempt this, a pattern emerges. Almost every author accidentally fails the assignment. These writers set out to erase European conquest from the timeline, yet despite their best efforts, they often find themselves rebuilding the exact imperial structures they were trying to avoid. Our historical imaginations are trapped by what we might call the grammar of conquest. Escaping that syntax is what makes truly undiscovering America such a difficult creative act. Most of these stories fall into a subgenre called the inversion. Here, indigenous populations go about the business of history on their own terms, growing into dominant global powers. In Robert Silverberg's 1967 novel, The Gate of Worlds, the Black Death devastates Europe so thoroughly that it never recovers. London becomes New Istanbul under Ottoman rule, while the Aztecs and Incas become the primary centers of industry and wealth. Laurent Binet's Civilizations takes a different route. A stray band of Vikings lands in the Americas centuries early, accidentally gifting the local populations ironworking and disease immunity. In both cases, the indigenous empires eventually turn the tables and occupy Europe. They prove their success by deploying the same tools of empire we recognize: flying warships, space weapons, and coal-fired cars. Notice the measuring stick. These counter-empires only win once they have industrialized, effectively becoming mirrored versions of Europe wearing different cultural clothing. We can treat this world-building trap as a literal sentence. Europe conquers the Americas with industrial warships. Authors rely on a simple noun swap, switching subjects and objects, but the structural verbs of success, domination, and industrialization remain perfectly intact. The underlying syntax hasn't moved. Other novels try to fix this by removing Europe from the room entirely, or by using time travelers to intervene and soften the violence of first contact. Even in these scenarios, the measuring sticks of tonnage, territory, and technological dominance never leave the room. The world still orbits the same ideas of power. In these stories, Europe is never truly decentralized. It simply becomes an absent center, the invisible hole that the rest of history is still forced to orbit. Breaking this cycle requires a different vision. Imagine an uncolonized North America, where the Great Lakes form an independent Anishinaabe nation, a land without defined borders or imperial ambitions. This is the setting of B.L. Blanchard's The Peacekeeper. It is a rare work of alternate history because it refuses to play the inversion game at all. In Blanchard's timeline, the Americas were never colonized, but crucially, they did not respond by becoming a conquering superpower. There is no counter-conquest of Europe. Instead, the author changed the verbs of her world. She imagined a society organized around restorative justice and wealth redistribution, where success is measured by the good life rather than territorial expansion. Creating a world like this requires the difficult labor of conceptual invention. The author must build a new yardstick for human flourishing before they can even begin to tell the story. Swapping who sits on the emperor's throne is a simple parlor trick. The harder work is asking whether the throne needs to exist at all.